What I wanted to do was talk to you about womb health and hip health and energy health. And I came up and found this quite interesting story behind this. Um, this very interesting, here we go, picture. Now, this picture is from openhandweb.org, Understanding Energy Implants and How to Remove Them. Now, I went to hear this guy talk in Glastonbury many years ago. It was quite a fascinating discussion. He was just kind of opening up a 5D space where people might not have been familiar with it. There was a lot of heavy energy around at the time. In this particular area, which meant that it went out across the world via the energy grids and ley lines. So what I want you to do is just have a look here. So here we have a picture of energy blockages. We have little patches. We have non-fluid areas. And you think about it, all of these energy points, looks like a Curlian photograph of some sort, or maybe it's some sort of art print. But what he goes on to say, human DNA can be influenced from the fourth density field. So he's referring to the fourth dimension there. Since DNA is a receiver transmitter of frequency, then by projecting a particular vibration into the DNA, like a laser, sound, or even thoughts and words, can shift and change it, or even block it and dumb it down. Now, this is quite interesting. So how would it block it down? So if you had a system that is continually blaring out media types that do not support women in any way, shape or form, they don't, they're negative towards the human instincts of women. You're not allowed to behave in a certain way. You're not allowed to have many varied partners because you are frowned upon. You might not earn the same as your male counterpart at work. You feel that you have to compete in a man's world. All these really sort of ideas of feminism from back in the day that were projected into the conscious collective or unconscious collective. And we kind of took these concepts on in the 60s with the birth of the CIA programs, Tavistock Institute rollouts of social engineering programs for governments and local communities. But, you know, the key thing here is that it can be used in all ways. It's not just targeted at women in a patriarchal society. Most people think, yeah, you're a raging feminist, you go around burning your bra, but I don't. Actually, I'm very happy being a woman. I'm quite balanced. I don't have any issues with men whatsoever. But, you know, we all experience this to a certain degree, male or female. Okay, there are no holds barred here. There really are not. No human has been sacred in this process of disruption of human interaction, spirit interaction, etc. So you can go on to see that if you put those lights out there, let me just go back to that picture. If you put those lights out, then your parts of you become defunct and misfunctional, not firing. And all of these areas down here are where you're going to sink most of the extremities of the emotions associated with this level of DNA control. So when your DNA is controlled, you are literally plodding along, right? You can't grow, you can't evolve, you have no thoughts, but you're not even aware that you need them. You might feel like that's normal. You don't get excited about anything. There is no, I suppose, congruent life force that is streaming through you. You're not feeling that great. So all of these things have a nationality, I'm going to go on to say. So in different female countries, in different countries across the world, there will be different energetic barriers that affect women. So in Britain, what we have is the highest rates of osteoporosis in the world, because of the energetic blockages that women have felt in this country due to the DNA lineage ancestors and the battling and the warring and the control that's gone on here for thousands of years. But in particular, what I'm referring to is the last 1,000 years, and before that, obviously, of suppression through the Industrial Revolution, through the apparent Renaissance, where childbirth and abuse was rife in every community. There were interlopers and raiders going around, and war and land battles all took its toll on the contractual level of a soul that has potentially been here for 2,000 years plus. So we at Women's Work take the eternal view of how we can effectively remove these blockages that have affected our stories as women. So every woman has her story, every woman has had her journey, and this is all about unlocking your journey. So when we begin to become free of all these negative projected belief systems, maybe they've been from a child growing up, maybe you've been in quite a heavy male environment, all of those things have an impact on the way that your body functions. So I was talking earlier on about heart, hips and womb. These are particularly important areas. So in the hips, obviously, it keeps us stable. It's where we house our sacred womb area, our physical womb area. Our dreaming area, our creative zone and areas. And often when we interact with guys, men, we can receive those energies into us, those alchemical energies via the sperm process, and a process of alchemy and synergy brings that energy and emotion into us. So essentially what we are receiving is male energy, thoughts, processes, future wishes, dreams, outcomes, negative dreams and outcomes, all at the core of us. So if you have a buildup of this energy over time, maybe this area is not free within you, there's pain, there's blockages, we would need to look at the contracts that we've held with men, partners, etc. Anyone that had been deeply intimate with our female zones there. So that would be one way as a woman to start the defrag process. But then it's taking it out into the wider levels of society. What is expected of you as a woman, how you're expected to behave, what colours you're supposed to dress in. You're meant to do is what your parents tell you. You've got to accept all the beliefs and traditions that have been handed down to you. Or do you? So if you, like me, feel very strongly about breaking every single tradition in your suppressed female line, then this will be for you. Now, you might think, well, my female line isn't suppressed. I come from a line of empowered women. Well, that's absolutely wonderful. I believe that that's true to a point, but still, they would have still had to have undergone some sort of historical input, effect, or issue as a result of that suppression. And it's an eternal factor that we're taking into consideration here, the eternal factor of your existence. How have you been treated in your female lives? Were they satisfactory? Did you learn those lessons? So there's a much bigger picture unfolding here. So one of the things, was it the one there? Characteristics. Oh, the energy bodies. This was quite interesting. I'm just going to pull this screen off and go to next screen, which is, it's not that one, it's not that one. No, it's not that one. 10 characteristics of women's energy bodies. And this is from an article in 2009 from Mummy Mystic. That sounds very nice indeed, because women are mystical and mums are definitely mystical. We have some of the most ignored mystical experiences on the planet. So women's energy is centripetal, men's is centrifugal. The idea here is that by default, women's energy circles inwards and is therefore attractive, drawing things towards it, which it is. It's like a toroidal universe of creation, while men's default energy cycles outwards, projecting rather than attracting. So you can see how in a relationship context, in a life context, that women's wombs attract. They draw energies towards it. They transmute planetary energies, all sorts of things like that. Gosh, we're super beings, aren't we? So both men and women can control and reverse this with their intent. But by default, a woman's energy is centripetal. That's such a nice way of putting it. This especially comes into play with sexual energy, and the different ways the two sexes try and attract sexual partners also comes into play in families, when the woman in any group is said to be the energetic organizing principle because of this centripetal quality, the mother. Women's bodies are more sensitive, absorbent. Yes, I would agree that. Women's energies are also generally said to be sensitive to external energies and more likely to absorb these energies rather than repel them. This has pros and cons, as an external energy can serve as raw data for intuition, but it can absorb too much energy, the wrong kind, can deplete or disperse a woman's energy field more quickly in certain situations, for example, in a large cloud. So with this, the managing densities, managing the dense energies in public places is really important, but most importantly to you on your inner core levels, your boundaries about what energies you're prepared to let into your zone and how they function and interact with yours is key. Women's bodies, energy bodies are more expansive. Well, I think everybody's expansive, and I think that it's a balance, actually. I'm not going to agree there. Women's energy bodies are fertile ground for energy lines. Well, this is a touchy one. They're saying, ooh. The idea is that one is that in interactions with others, and especially in close relationships, women become the anchor line energetically for both parties. In sexual terms, some traditions teach that a woman gets an energy line planted on her body with every sexual encounter that can take years to cut if she wishes to do so. And this is not the case, or at least so for men. It's not just sexual energy lines. It's really all kinds of relationships. The idea where women naturally harbour these lines, and this can become especially problematic for us if we are anchoring too many people for us to handle. Okay, wow, that's fair enough. That's basically saying that what I've been talking about, cycling energies, life phases, second chakra plays a unique role. Yes, everything happens from here. It's the chakra related to women's reproduction systems, dreaming body, your relations, how you relate to the world as a woman, and earth as well. Okay, so there we go. So a woman's sacral chakra is a unique spiritual doorway. This comes up in some form in the sacred feminine traditions, even in those that don't define chakras per se. The idea is that the second chakra, or corresponding area in other systems in women, can function like a portal, a doorway to other dimensions and spiritual insight, in a way that mainstream teachings only the third eye and crown chakra are said to. Well, it's probably written by a man because they didn't really want to know about a womb. But that's just fabulous. And that gives us a really good idea of what we're dealing with.